$6 million. Look at this. $6 million to upgrade the Senate subway system that runs 2 blocks to the Capitol.
See, I don't know about that. Seems like a lot of money to me.
Why don't you just give them skateboards?
That's a good idea.
There you go. They'd be healthier, and you know what else? They'd have a better outlook on life, wouldn't they?
They sure would.
Now watch them skate away. See? Look. There's money worth spending. Look at that. Oh, what a move. No senator could ever do that, folks. The only way they're that shifty is in budgeting.
Con artists are out to pick Uncle Sam's pockets. The poorly managed federal student loan program is currently being exploited by some fly-by-night trade schools, turning the dream of a better education into a nightmare for some people.
And I'm not driving a truck. I'm not making the glorious money the school said I would make. So I'm stuck with a $6,600 loan to pay back. And as I don't pay it, it's adding interest onto it every day. I feel like I was ripped off to a great extent. I do not feel I got my money's worth. I do not feel I got an education in any way, shape, or form. They taught me how to keep it in the road and shift gears. They taught us nothing of specifics, the things that we needed to know to be an efficient, good trucker.
Ben Martin may not be driving a truck, but he has been taken for a ride by an unscrupulous for-profit trade school, Drawn's Trucking School in Tennessee.
Trucking, from what he said, was a very stable job, no layoffs, lots of work, lots of miles, and lots of money. The Drawn's School never, ever let us drive at night. During our field training, we never, ever backed into a live dock. Never, ever do we drive with a load. I feel like I was ripped off.
Ken and Darlene Brown were once employed in the Drawn's operation, but now they're blowing the whistle on the scam.
They said explain to them from the very beginning that they get $2,300 free money from the government, which of course is the Pell Grant.
They didn't want the students to understand how much money they were going in debt because the student might not enroll into school and Drawn's wouldn't get all the money.
Ben Martin is stuck with his debt and Drawn's is $6,600 richer. The school is currently being investigated by the Department of Education for the misuse of federal funds, but Drawn's doors are still open to the hapless and naive.
If they're not shut down, something's wrong with the system. Who's supposed to be regulating this? Whose job is it? Because they're definitely not doing their job.
Critics charge the Department of Education with lack of oversight, weak financial management, failure to enforce its own regulations, and a rubber stamp accreditation process.
Anybody with 2 brain cells functioning should know that this is a ripoff.
Legal aid attorney Elena Ackel is helping students in Los Angeles recover tuition from the now bankrupt Allied schools and has seen the abuse of the student loan program up close.
The Rodanos who ran Allied Education paid themselves $900,000 a year. They had 7 fancy cars, including a Ferrari Testarossa that they paid $140,000, 2 Jaguars and Mercedes, and even a Chevy truck, I assume, to drive the money away in. I mean, this is a fraud on the IRS as well as the taxpayers and the students, and the government knows it, but they do nothing to stop it, and they let it continue and continue.
Congressman Bart Gordon of Tennessee has introduced legislation aimed at cracking down on fly-by-night trade schools.
We find that it's a few institutions that cause problems for everyone else. Once they get their profit, once they get their loan or their grant, then to heck with the student. That's wrong. We've got to look at this revolving door where employees are coming out of the Department of Education, finding basically the niches in the program, the creases where they can take advantage of it, opening up or being a part of these proprietary schools, and then taking advantage of those loopholes.
The head people who did the deceiving and the lying and the cheating and the stealing the student loan money, I like to see them all put in jail.
The Department of Education has estimated that student loan defaults in 1991 will total about $3.6 billion, a 50% increase over last year. The road to government waste is paved with good intentions. Renegade federal social programs often succeed in harming the very people they were intended to help. Take the case of proud Native Americans, whose dreams of success have been snared in bureaucratic red tape.
The Bureau of Indian Affairs was established in 1824 and charged with running most Indian programs. Since that time, the BIA has become a bureaucratic nightmare.
And where do you start? There are probably millions, if not billions of dollars being lost. Lots of money is wasted or misused or outright stolen.
Mark Trahan, publisher of the Navajo Nation Today, has been exposing BIA bungling for years.
The Bureau of Indian Affairs has just a tough time keeping track of its own money and equipment. It's not just money. Recently we reported that $95 million was misaccounted for. They call it a paper error, saying that it's not really serious, but that same error we found time and time again. We found rooms full of computer equipment that the Bureau just didn't know what to do with, so they stuck it in a room.
As financial losses have escalated, tribal confidence in the agency has waned. Anita Fine-Day is the Solicitor General for the Mille Lacs Band of Chippewa in Minnesota, vocal critics of the Bureau's performance.
Why does the housing look like this? Why do the roads look like this? Why is there not adequate education for Indian kids when all of this money is being dumped into these programs? And this is why, because it goes for all of the levels of bureaucracy. It's so grossly mismanaged. The reality of the situation has been that nothing happens. You just don't get any response from them.
Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs Dr. Eddie Brown is aware of tribal frustration.
If I had a bank account down at the bank and they could not account for my money, I would be very angry as well, and I would be very skeptical knowing that it's gone on this long and not being corrected. Resources need to be gotten down to where the people are and where the need is.
I would like to see someday where we just give the tribe certain amounts of money. They administer the programs themselves using their ability, their administrative capability, and their own talents and skills rather than that of the BIA.
The Mille Lacs Band is one of 8 tribes that have signed self-governance agreements, allowing them to run some BIA programs locally.
The intent of this project was to reduce the level of bureaucracy. We can increase the amount of services that are received here on the reservation, and we can actually save the Bureau money. But that's not one of their priorities. I think their main priority is a continuation of the system as it is.
The band is not satisfied with the BIA's management of the new project.
The Bureau of Indian Affairs' response has been to create an Office of Self-Governance in Washington, D.C., which has new staff, new funding, new positions. So, in fact, they've added another layer of office people that we now have to deal with. As far as inefficiency, they've only increased it. They know that we aren't pleased with the outcome and that we aren't going to go away. We're a thorn in their side, and we are here to stay.
The self-governance movement is growing. 9 more tribes have indicated interest, and Congress is considering extending the program through 1996.
$500,000 just to plan for the relocation of the Senate Computer Center.
I can tell them where to relocate it to.
By the end of 1991, the national debt will have surpassed $3.6 trillion. Your personal share will be $14,475. If these facts concern you, if anything you've seen has moved you, now is the time to join us in our war on government waste, fraud, and mismanagement. Call Citizens Against Government Waste at 1-800-USA-DEBT. I'm Alan Keyes. Thank you for joining us.
You look nice and coiffed this morning. What do you think about your government? Your government spending $350,000 of your tax dollars to restore the House Beauty Salon.
I think it's.
What do you think they spent $33,000 for dairy and beef photo period research?
That's unreal.
Like they're taking pictures of cows.
That's unreal.
$3 million for Poultry Center of Excellence.
Oh, you believe it?
$3 million to find out if chicken tastes good. Research. How about $33 million for screwworm research?
He's so full of it.